Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Wir sind heute in Berlin im Hotel Er in Berlin und unsere Gastgeberin hat uns hier einen wunderschönen Raum zur Verfügung gestellt und nichts Geringeres können wir natürlich anbieten. Avi Avital, der sich heute auch ein bisschen Zeit genommen hat und mit uns über die Mandoline spricht, über das Werk, die Literatur, werdet ihr alles gleich selber hören, und über das Konzert am 3. Mai bei uns in Monheim am Rhein. Hello, Avi.
Hi, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Great. We are in Berlin. Yeah, it's, I think, your second, maybe your second home city. I don't know really.
Yes,
Yeah.
I live here. I mean, second to the stage.
Second to the stage. Yeah, right. And yeah, we were talking about in the preparing situation about that the first time we met. It was in 2011. So nearly 14 years ago.
Oh,
nearly. I was like this. You have been also a little bit like this. And I remember that, at that time, people asked me when we presented a concert with a mandolin, what's up with that? It's a guitar which got to hot water, or what was it? And who's the player? Who tries to play a mandolin? Why do you try to learn a mandolin? And now I think a lot of CDs, a lot of success, big orchestras, a lot of people wanting to work with you. You told me about the new CD project.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having given me an opportunity back in 2011 to play in your series, because it took really a lot of promoters and conductors and orchestra managers that instead of saying, oh, the mandolin, no one knows it, no one will come, saying, oh, the mandolin, no one knows it. This is an advantage. And people will come because they're curious, because you have an opportunity to offer something new that they never heard before. This was always how I thought about the fact that I'm playing the mandolin, never as a disadvantage, but always as an advantage, because you can give something to people that they never had before. And this is still how I think 14 years after. I still, before every concert, I think, how can I give an experience to the audience? Some of them may become, second time, third time for the concert, to hear a mandolin, to hear myself, I don't know. What do I do that is new to them, that they have never heard before? This is something that is always a question in my head.
Yeah, and I think the first time I heard about the mandolin, I thought, okay, this might be an instrument. There was written a lot of literature coming from the violin opus. So, but the more I got into touch with the instrument, I got to know, no. It's a long time ago, but there were componists that did a lot for the instrument.
Yes, the mandolin has a weird story in the history of classical music, or in the history of classical Western musical instrument. The course that it has made is a little bit different. You cannot compare it to, the piano or the cello or the oboe. The mandolin is a plucked string instrument. That means that in the evolution of instruments, of musical instrument, it comes early on. The concept of having a string, plucking it to make sound, is universal, exists in all over the world, in every culture, and it comes way before a bow instrument, a reed instrument, a mouthpiece instrument, obviously. So we're talking about something that exists and existed since beginning of music in every culture in the world. That means that, again, as a concept, it is a very popular type family of instruments. And so it was in the 18th century where it started to hear the name mandolin in a context of classical music. Of course, the instrument itself evolved from so many different black string instrument that existed in the Orient, traveling with the Silk Road, or in France, in Spain, in Italy. I mean, it gave it the name mandolin at some point in the 18th century. The amount of string changes, how you tune it changes, and so on. But this is when we talk about the mandolin, it's when it's becoming used in classical written composed music. But still it maintains a character of an amateur instrument. It never really got to be a stage instrument. We're talking now about the classical music or the art music
I know what you mean.
history. It was very popular, but not as a concert instrument. The dimensions of it, the acoustics of it, the fact that it was very popular played a little bit against it in this sense. So all the composers that wrote for the mandolin, the very few of them, there's one canzonetta by Mozart, Don Giovanni, Beethoven wrote little pieces. It was always for a reason which is outside of the musical world. Beethoven was in love with a mandolin player and he wrote her little pieces for her to play. Mozart wanted to use the fact that the mandolin was associated with well-educated young maiden at that time in that society in Salzburg or Vienna. That was the mandolin. It was a nice instrument that, like the harp a little bit, that you would play in the salon for fun, for music, for good musical education. And he wanted to use that in the hands of Don Giovanni, in the canzonetta where he serenades to this type of lady. So you see, the mandolin was never in the head of the composers, of the audience. It was more related to something that has to do with playing at home. A little bit like the ukulele today, I guess. Every household with a kid has a ukulele. We have a ukulele, once it's on the kitchen table, one it's on the sofa. I like it to be outside, so whenever my kid passes, he's doing like that, and then the next time he's doing like that, he maybe figures out something, and sometimes I grab it and we play a little song. That was the mandolin. And wow, that was a long answer, and I can't remember the question anymore.
The question
Where was I going?
Is there really something written by composers for the mandolin? And
exactly.
You said for sure it was, but it's maybe a long time ago. But you also told me, I think when we met in 2019, this was the first time when you have been in Monheim am Rhein.
True.
And I think there you told me, no, you shouldn't forget that it's also played in pop or rock music. I think there's a kind of, maybe can I say, a renaissance of playing the mandolin or using the mandolin as an instrument in contemporary compositions, maybe?
I think so. I think definitely there is a renaissance for the instrument. There's much more interest about it. Since I began my musical path, and it was, as you remember very well, very, very hard to convince promoter to present a mandolin recital, a mandolin concert on the season. For them, I'm sure, it was difficult to have people looking at the brochure, seeing mandolin. Should I come? Should I not come? Because people, I guess, wouldn't know what to imagine. And this has changed. This has changed. I experience, I speak for myself, and I see that, knock wood, I have concerts and people are coming and people are happy, and when there is interest about it, contemporary music is rediscovered. There are so many new music written for the mandolin. I myself premiered over 100 pieces for like concerti, solo, together with ensembles that are written for the mandolin. So only in the past 20 years, including some really big concertos. So yes, there is a renaissance. I feel that the golden period of the mandolin is now.
And
of course I'm very happy to be part of it. And but I always leave this fact with duality, because I guess often, and I'm humbled and grateful, and to when people look from outside and say, okay, you have a part of this, you're ambassador of the mandolin, is something I hear often, and it's always like kind of it's like it's funny for me still to really fully believe it, because at the end, the fact that I'm playing the mandolin is random. It's a coincidence.
But do you think when you learned the instrument, you didn't have the idea of being the ambassador of the instrument?
No,
for sure not.
And still, I'm not going on stage.
You were interested in the instrument.
Yes, I'm not interested in becoming, like, I don't go on stage like as an ambassador of anything. I just want to give the audience a good artistic experience.
Sure.
And when I go on stage, I don't play the mandolin. I play music. The mandolin is a tool, is what happens to be in my hand, because that's how it worked in my life, you know?
Sure.
But the music is the experience that I'm able to give to audience as a collateral effect. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to have brought an instrument from the shadow maybe to the light, and again, being able to offer people something they don't have. I enjoy very much my musical journey with a mandolin. I guess if I was a violinist, I don't know if I would have the same, if I would enjoy that much my path, because I'm encouraged as a mandolin player always to invent, to reinvent, to offer new things, and I feel pretty free to do so, not as a pianist or a violinist, because there are no expectations as for repertoire. And so again, it's one can say it's a burden, it's something more, but no, it's a great advantage and great liberty and great fun to always think what's next, what's new.
I have in my eye the picture of you with a violin or with a piano. So, maybe I know you too long that I cannot imagine. No. The instrument, the mandolin, and you, this is the unity.
No. Yeah, exactly. That's my position.
And I've talked, for example, with other artists, conductors. For example, last time with Oksana Linev. Because we have hosted the Kiev Symphony Orchestra in the Kulturwerke. And so in the last months, maybe years, especially with the pandemic situation, I have the feeling that as a cultural company, you get more and more, if you want or not, in the political struggle or problems or circumstances in the world. And for example, I remember an interview, it was in the pandemic, with Fazil Say, and maybe you know him too. He is also a very political man, stands for different things. And do you also have this situation that you not only are the ambassador of the mandolin, maybe you are also, because of your passport, maybe a political man, human being?
I'm not a political person.
Yeah.
I'm not a political person, not regarding to music or not. It's not a decision. And also I feel that my role, and some other musicians will argue with that, and that's totally fine. But my role or my responsibility to people that come to the concert and they treated themselves the free evening. We don't have so many free evenings, right? But they chose, the people that come to the concert chose this free evening. I'm going to treat myself with something beautiful, with an artistic experience. They dress nicely, they book a babysitter, they bought a ticket, they turned off their phone for 2 hours. Now it's my responsibility to give them the beautiful artistic experience that they came from. It's not about myself. I'm serving what they came from, and I know how to do that. It's not about myself. And so I don't think also there is room to, at that situation, to apply my opinions, which I have, to apply my point of view about the world. No, I'm there to serve them with music. This is my ethics when I'm on stage, right? And I'm very much connected to that aspect. My passport doesn't matter, the passport. My cultural identity is, of course, very present. And it's very complex. I come from Israel. I love the country. It's a complex country, but this is my cultural DNA. I'm Jewish. I'm not religious, but culturally, I feel very much how it is part of my identity. I also lived in Italy for 8 years. It's also part of my identity. And I live in Berlin. That is also part of my identity. I'm a musician. I'm a human being. I'm a father. I'm many things, and all these things come, of course, they are expressed in the music, but not in a very fronted way. The fact that I grew up in a society which is very multicultural in the foundations of it, of course, come into play when I play Spanish-driven music, the Falla, or other composers or things from different cultures, which I'm always curious about and always experiment with. But all of that are hopefully not political. Yeah. And still, I hope that the fact that we are doing art and serving art, that does promote a message which is important. And the message is of, in order to experience any kind of art, any discipline of art, whether it's music or painting, an artistic photograph, dance, whatever, book even, the thing with art is, there's entertainment and art and there's something still that art that is there's an extra component to it. And I think if I have to, it's not a fine line, it's of course, but if I have to, maybe try to put my finger in it, it's the use of your imagination. When you read a book, and I read the same book and we can talk about it, but it's obvious that we imagine, we have a different scenery of what we read. Also, when we look at an abstract painting, which transmits an emotion for us, but there is an abstract component that makes us imagine or use our imagination to complete the scenery. Also, very much so with classical music, with the complexity of the form and everything. You have a feeling listening to music. Maybe you have a story in your mind, but this is something that happens in your head also. Yes, and if we use more our imagination, maybe we can imagine how another person that is not us feels,
right,
or may think. And it's a good thing to have in our humanity.
You will bring in May 3rd. You will bring to the concert some, well-known composers like Vivaldi. And you also have in your case the 4 Jahreszeiten, the 4 seasons.
So the 4 seasons, we're talking about the most famous classical music piece. Whether you want it or not, everyone heard the 4 seasons, playing it on a record, waiting in the waiting room of the dentist, in the call for the insurance. You know the 4 seasons. You know the 4 melodies.
You know the themes.
The fact that all the audience come to the concert hall with the 4 seasons in their head is a great opportunity for us interpreters, because it means that we use that, or at least my view of the Four Seasons is I know everyone knows the melody. So, and it's a great opportunity. It's kind of a 21st century phenomena to know that audience already come with the music in their head, so much in imprint, to surprise, to tweak, to twist. The sheer fact that audience are going to listen to the very famous Four Seasons with a mandolin as opposed to the violins already, in my experience, gives the listener an opportunity to listen to it in a different, from a different angle, to rediscover it, because it would sound familiar enough, but also not, also new enough in order to just listen to the melodies again without it being replay of all the times you've heard the melodies in your life. And this is just the reason to play it on a mandolin, but also in the interpretation that we're doing with the Venice Baroque Orchestra. There are some turns that I hope will be surprising and exciting, that are really built on the fact that the listener would expect a certain way of playing those.
And maybe it's possible, I don't know if we have time enough, or maybe you can give us a short idea of playing the mandolin.
Sure. Yeah. So here's my little mandolin.
Yeah. And it's how old is the instrument? This is an old
This is not an old instrument. No. It's from 1998.
Oh no.
Yes.
Very young.
So modern in terms of musical instrument. And it's made by an Israeli maker. His name is Ari Kerman. And it's very, I've been playing it since 98, and this is absolutely my favorite mandolin. And he had in mind, his quest was to create an instrument that is for a concert hall, so it'd be loud enough and have a range of colors, and will not be less than any of the other instruments in the classical concert hall. So this instrument doesn't lie on the kitchen table and on the sofa.
I hope so. And what would you play for us?
Vivaldi was the only composer that really wrote two concerti for the mandolin that instantly becomes the most important, concerto in the repertoire. They're very iconic. One of them is for two mandolins, and one of them we're going to play is for mandolin and orchestra. And the interesting thing is that in the score he asked the entire orchestra to play pizzicato, sort of to become, mandolins, all of them. And it goes like this.
Vielen Dank. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So, see you on May 3rd?
Yes, yeah. May 3rd.
And thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you
all the best for the next projects and concerts. And see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.